What's up, Rockstars? Today I'm looking back through 2022 to see what were the top controversies for board games. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. Now, a quick note before we dive into these things. This is not meant to be a negative video. And what I mean by that is I think it's a very positive thing that these negative things were covered. I think it's good for any industry to have line of sight to issues, to talk through issues, and ideally to talk through issues to something better. Now, this is going kind of through all the videos I did throughout the year and just highlighting really the top 10. Actually, I believe there's 11, but one of them's kind of focused on me. We'll talk about that. But really the top 10 issues that kind of crept up that I covered for this year. I do this every single year, and I think it's a very positive thing to do. Just kind of encapsulate, hey, here were some of the issues that we struggled with, and let's see how we could do better in 2023. So without further ado, here are the top 10 controversies of 2022. So starting things out, this is a fun one. This was 10 months ago. I titled this was These Have Issues because there was a lot to talk about. There wasn't just one thing here. I talked about Divinity Original Sin, the board game, and how Lynn Vander didn't do a great job on this. I told you guys about that. I told you guys in this one, I told you guys about that. So Larian Studios kind of like had to take up the helm and kind of do all that. But what it did is it created a huge amount of delay, kind of a stoppage pretty much on refunds. A lot of people weren't getting answers on that, and a drastic changes to the game. So what you backed ended up not being it. They took all of crafting out, for instance. They took away some of the boards that were there. It just is a very different game than what anybody backed. It was like Trudvang Legends dialed up to 11 in that. Now that was Larian Studios trying to do what they could to salvage a bad situation, but it was still a very bad situation. And to my understanding is they aren't out of the woods even yet. And this was 10 months ago. So this was kind of a big one. And then I also talked about this. Like I said, when you know this is posted in an update, you know it's bad. This was Chronicles of Drunagar Apocalypse and kind of their fumbling and huge issues with Gamefound's backend to get shipping correct. And it was a disaster for many people. And at the end of the day, they got it kind of okay to where people were just like less screwed in a lot of ways, but it was what it was. And this was kind of, I think, the first inkling we had to like a whole lot of shipping issues, which I'm sure we'll cover more of. So that was a big one on that one. That one was fun. I called it outrageous shipping. Unmitigated greed. Let's talk about Borderlands. This was a fun one. The Monster Fight Club made about $2 million before the Pledge Manager. Pledge Managers, by the way, often can even double the amount of funding. So they could have gotten perhaps even up to 4 million, perhaps a bit less. It depends on kind of the how many people are upping their pledges or coming in late, stuff like that for the PM. But they were so money hungry about this. Not only did they just reuse their Cyberpunk stuff that they had done before, put Borderlands title on it, and then sold it as a Borderlands thing. Literally, it's the exact same product. So some of the add-ons on that, not only does it have a quick mad rush to have some minis and one of the ugliest boards I'd ever seen, not only was it not even like that great of a deal on top of that, but they did stuff like they didn't quite get the last stretch goal. And CMON, I'm not sure. I think I cover it, yeah, right here. So they didn't quite unlock Tiny Tina. So don't worry, you can buy her for $10 at the end. Except even CMON gives you the last one free. All stretch goals are fake anyway. They've already planned all the stretch goals into the price of what you're paying. So they were going to offer for free, not because they needed $2.1 million, but because it was just another unlock. But hey, why not get some more money and sell it for $10 afterwards? Just over it step by step by step. Every single aspect of this campaign just had greed written all over it, and I'm very, very sad to see the Borderlands IP handled by a company that has such unmitigated greed as Monster Fight Club. I'm still upset about that. I don't like it when we're treated like that, and I don't like seeing stuff like this in an already wildly successful campaign because they just need to eke out a bit more money. Not the kind of way I think you need to make money. So that was kind of that one. Again, really bad. These have issues. That was 10 months ago. Let's go into some more singular ones. This was Poots created a genre and then abandoned it. This was 8 months ago. Kind of funny covering this now that Gambler's Chess has actually hit production. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. Here I am highlighting that I need to say this at kingdomdeath.com. They were getting so many negative comments because people were upset because it's been like years and years and years, and all you're doing is releasing a whole bunch of like pinups and stuff like that, and not actual gameplay, not actual game, right? I think the last update was what, like 2015-ish was kind of the last big one. There was a little 1.6, but it wasn't very big, and again, it wasn't anything that you would actually like promise before. Anyway, so, and again, let's not pretend Gambler's Chess is all that he owes. He still owes a ton more. He's going to be a decade plus late on this stuff. Easily. But suffice it to say, it was so bad, he was like, please stop commenting all this negativity. Just send it to this email so you can feel better typing it out, and it can just go into the ether and nobody has to see it. That's how desperate they were to kind of get people reined in. And again, that was 8 months ago, and only just now have they finally said, hey, it's finally coming. So it was getting bad. It was getting nasty. And I definitely wanted to kind of talk about that because Controversies Odyssey is now delivering as well. They beat Gambler's Chess just like I said they would, which means that Gambler's Chess now for me, and for I think a lot of people, will be compared to Controversies Odyssey, will be compared to Oswor and all these other iterations that other companies were able to deliver in the time that he was able to finally iterate on his own creation. So it was kind of like he made Kingdom Death Monster and then just kind of found out he can make a whole bunch of money selling minis a lot easier with a lot less effort and a lot less cost to his company than if he made a giant board game that he's probably at this point even losing money on from all the past sales that he did on it and stuff like that. So just a messy situation. Was sure to cover that for you guys and kind of talk through that and really try and be the voice of the people there, at least as best as I can, and showing kind of the consumer side of things, which I think a lot of developers just don't have line of sight to, right? They're in their world with their company making a product to sell for profit, not us consumers just trying to like play a game with our family and friends, right? It's a very different thing, the consumer side of things. Next up, we have withholding information, sneaky marketing tactics, and the blame game. You deserve better. You guys do. You deserve better. Know that. They are getting your hard-earned money, and they are keeping it for at least a year, if not 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, or in Kingdom of the Monsters case, a decade maybe, who knows, with no product in return. They are feeding their kids with your money, with your interest-free loan, that you might get a product back. Hopefully they don't ask for more shipping. That's their predicament, and yours is giving them that money. So you deserve the best treatment they can give you. Don't settle for anything less. This was 8 months ago, and this one covered, first of all, the Everrain, the Spanish pledge in particular. A lot of you probably don't remember this, but this was kind of the start of me really focusing on the manipulative side of withholding information. You see, when Grimlord Games had an issue with the Spanish version of the Everrain, which they sold specifically, as you can see, a clearly labeled Spanish version, they said in their kind of little things that, hey, if we can't get you this, we'll give you the English pledge, or a refund or whatever. And then what they did is they found out they couldn't get the Spanish pledge and said nothing. They said nothing. They didn't write an update saying, oh, sorry, the Spanish pledge won't be. They said nothing. Nothing. In fact, this was kind of the first time I actually tried to do a little bit of investigative stuff, as it were. Let's go right here. So yeah, this is actually an email that I sent out, and they responded, because these were the people that were going to translate it. And they're like, yeah, no, this was like a thing for a while. We haven't been able to do this. But they waited until the very end, because what they were going to do is send this. Hey, sorry, we couldn't do this. So either take the English version or nothing. Because then you have no option to refund. You're stuck. You're trapped. They got you. purposely not saying anything, knowing they can't deliver it. This whole time they're writing updates or lack thereof for Grimlord Games, not telling nobody, just so they could put you against the wall to where you have no other choice. It's the first time I really got triggered on that, or really kind of noticed the manipulative nature of some of these game devs when it comes to not just creating a good product at a great price that people will enjoy and making money that way. Because as a business, there are many ways you can make money. And Grimlord Games decided that part of that involves withholding information so that they can sneak money from you. Because then you can't ask for a refund, you're stuck with it. English or bust. Just sad. Sad. Really not cool to do. Like, not at all. That's just really bad. All right, next up we have more banning, more abuse. This drama has got to stop. This was posted 6 months ago, and really I just put BGR up a board game Geek. I said, stop it. This is dumb. This has gone too far. This is ridiculous. The constant banning, the constant, and I might show this another one. I don't actually quite remember. Where I really focus on how the communities that we have as consumers to interact with are run by the companies, right? All the admins and all the Facebook groups are just like board game companies typically, or ad agencies for the board games is how they operate. So either way, it's not a pro-consumer point. It's not run by consumers. That's why I launched the Facebook group I Have the Kingdom. It is linked down in the description below. You are welcome to join it and like talk about issues, and you won't get banned. Imagine that. It's really sad to see that we don't really have a lot of options on places to go, if that makes sense. And this was kind of one of them. This Chris here, you might recognize him. He is a liege, not quite a king, but a liege. That sounds cool. It's hard to say for me. That's because I barely speak English well. However, all he did was ask, hey, like, I'm getting kind of confused. What's an ad? What's not an ad? And he got banned for saying that. Is this an I'm interested post or promotion? Was the question. He got banned. I kid you not. And then later on, of course, I got banned because it's just ridiculous. It's so silly. I got banned. I wasn't even like commenting in the group. They didn't like a video I posted and banned me. That's how sensitive a lot of these developers are. Now that there's companies like, or not companies, dear Lord, channels like mine looking at companies in a critical way. They're very used to, and I can't blame them. They're very used to having their product criticized. Normally, a lot of it's a softball criticism. For a lot of channels will do that, or a lot of reviewers will do that. Softball criticism is like you have the air of being critical, but it's so light-hearted and that you can still have a business relationship with them. In other words, you're not burning any bridges. You'll never say anything's garbage from a big company or anything like that. You'll just have like the art computer. This could be, very mellow kind of stuff. And for the most part, everything's 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Or 3, 4, 5, or like it's always like the higher end, right? You're not getting a lot of the negative ones, and so that's what they're used to. So to have somebody like me that speaks a little bit more plainer, comes from kind of the video game side of things when it comes to like reviews in the industry and stuff like that, where we just like I don't know, I call it how I see it, and it's not ill intention. I'm talking about a product here, or a company, not this person is whatever. That rarely ever happens unless it's a person doing something bad, in which case there you go. But anyway, they're not used to it, and so a lot of times developers struggle to react to that, just like I struggled to react to criticism you guys had of me, especially early on. It used to affect me greatly. I used to react in a quite negative way to it, a very unhealthy way to it. So I totally understand that. It's very weird being in a public position where people can critique you, and you feel like it's you as a person, and sometimes it even is you as a person. You're like, you don't even know me, man. Like all you see is my video or my product or whatever it is. So I get it. But at the end of the day, the banning has got to stop. That doesn't mean I go around banning people, and you shouldn't either. That's just silly. Apparently, moderation is one thing. Ban or don't ban. There is no other type of moderation. There's no cooldown period. There's no warnings. There's no, a 3-strike rule kind of thing. It's you did something wrong, instantly out. There is you can't have a bad day. You can't just, unless of course it's the banner, I guess. I don't know. It's just silly. It needs to stop. Especially when you ban industry critics. That is just wild to me. Like, the moment you're banning critics in the industry and you're a board game dev or you're in the board game industry, I feel like you may need to reevaluate your actions. My opinion. All right, next up, this was another withholding information 5 months ago. What the heck is this? Look at this little blurry thing. So, thank God for Amazon Canada, right? Come on, give a shout out to Amazon Canada, because they listed a Board Games Marvel Zombie board game for $44.99 by Spin Master Games, where you're playing as heroes in a zombicide game. I actually have it right there. It's a fun game. This was another example of a company purposely withholding information to try and gain more money from you being less informed as a consumer. And again, anytime your objective to make money is don't tell the customer their options so they make a bad decision for them, I feel that's probably not the kind of business you should run. My opinion. I mean, you do you. So come on, Grimlord Games, all you guys that do that, by all means, keep being manipulative, and I'll keep covering it, because 2023 will be another year of more of this crap, I'm sure, because they make a ton of money doing it, apparently. So what happened was CMON had Marvel Zombicide, and this was like a big thing. Marvel Zombies, the Zombicide game. Big campaign, didn't do as well as some people were thinking it might. Still did very well. One of the things they did, because again they love being manipulative, is you could not just get the standalone expansion that will be in retail, Heroes Resistance, I believe, unless I'm combining with that one. I forget what the other one was. Heroes something or other. It was to play as heroes. The base game, the core box that you could back on Kickstarter, was only zombies. You played as the zombies. You had to spend $150 to get that game plus the standalone that doesn't need that to be able to play as the Marvel heroes. And then they did that also by not telling you that Spin Masters was going to, before they were in retail, have a hero version of the board game available for way cheaper. Because of course they wouldn't. Why would they tell you that? Because then you'll just go get that. They're trying to manipulate you to spending $150 instead of $44. Right? I mean, why would they tell you that? Hey, you could get Marvel Zombies Zombicide game. You could play as heroes. You could spend $44. You could get it quicker, or you could pay $150 and get the core box that you might not even want, plus a whole bunch of like bloated stretch goals, and then that other expansion that should be standalone and will be cheaper at retail anyway. That's what they're trying to sell you. So they purposely didn't mention this until this leaked and people started asking about it after the campaign was done. And then they're like, oh yeah, there's this, and we have all this information about it. Because of course they do. It was already being manufactured. It was already being worked on. I guarantee they were all talking about it because CMON is still involved in this. CMON's logo is on there. It's still a Zombicide game. CMON knew about this. They just didn't want to tell you because that might affect you backing them or not. And they didn't want you to be as informed as you could be. But my goal is to inform you. So when I see some crappy leaked footage on Amazon Canada, I'm going to tell you about it even 5 months ago so that you know. Which is why I also bought the game with my money and played it and reviewed it for you guys. You're welcome. And I don't mean you're welcome in like an egotistical thing. I mean, like, honestly, I do this for you guys. I hope that this is helpful for you guys to really kind of realize the situations you are put in as a consumer. And the more these companies, by the way, which we're about to get into that, the more these companies are pushed for financials, the more they realize that they're bad business practices, that they're overexpending, that their love of full-time employees and bloated dev teams and Team A and Team B, all 40-man things and doing this and doing that and throwing 9 expansions into something right off the bat and all this other ridiculousness. The more they're hard up for money, the more ruthless, the more manipulative, the more they're going to push you guys. But I'll be here with you guys trying to fight the good fight, trying to get these good deals, and trying to be as informed as possible so that I can not back Marvel Zombies and just grab the Heroes Resistance. Moving on from that, we have 4 months ago, Blacklist games Takedown, indie dev in need, brand new games and more. Oh yeah, there's some positives too, but the thumbnail shows it all. Rest in peace, Blacklist games. So, as you know, Blacklist games decided to, not make enough money to actually deliver it and spend all their money. And then too late, again, of course, way too late, they tell you. One of the things I talk about right here, here's the issue. When I'm talking here, what I'm saying is first of all, again, and I'm talking to Blacklist games here, you took everybody's money. You fed your kids. You drove your car. You paid your mortgage based off of the money they gave you to make this game. And you don't even have the decency to tell them the first time there might be an issue. Hey, there might be an issue. We're looking into it. No, you stay absolutely quiet. You BS them with update after update after update of just total BS. This is where I finally started talking about plate spinning, right? Where you just have all these plates and you're just trying to spin them, just trying to keep it going, but eventually it's all going to come crashing down, which is exactly what happened to Blacklist games. And then we find out that also happened with Mythic Games. We'll talk about them later. And so I'm talking about that, right? And then the issue that I'm covering here is the GoFundMe issue, because they tried to get a GoFundMe to get money and that was taken down too, which means they had no options. Now, luckily, again, this ended up kind of okay. Quartermaster Logistics had the product and has now, I believe they are going to be closing this very soon, actually. I'll put on the video kind of the deadline there. So for their fantasy series miniatures to get it, you got to pay the shipping then, but you will get the thing. That means that the shipping's like, sometimes it's $15 for a $15 thing. You've already paid shipping for once, so it can get kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. Either way, definitely covered that and really kind of was trying to say to these companies, like, the time to mention bad news is the moment it happens. Don't just BS it. Don't just lie to people until it gets worse and worse and worse. Because then you can't ask for money. Then nobody's going to give you money. That's not how that works. Next up, Darkest Dungeon shipping issue. This was 4 months ago. Can you imagine it was only 4 months ago? And it's just trouble on there, as all the thumbnail is on that, because trouble is what it is. This was kind of bound to happen. So there are a lot of companies operating right now that are one Anasteer away from collapse. So what I mean by that is Mythic Games, again, kind of BS said, everything's fine, everything's okay. There is no worry about anything. Yeah, hell's late, but it's fine, it's coming. We are a totally fine company, doing great. And then the moment a campaign doesn't fund extraordinarily well, it made over $1 million, by the way, then suddenly we don't have enough money to deliver everything to you. How the heck did that happen? How did you need money from that campaign to deliver this campaign? Except that, again, weren't running the business right? There was failure after failure of having good business sense, having all these full-time employees, growing so big, using funds that from one thing to pay another, robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Having so many delays, because guess what? When games are delayed a whole bunch, you know what isn't profitable? That game. True Dwelling Legends, come on, made no money on it. I guarantee it. It's too late. They spent too much money. Hell, I guarantee Mythic Games made no money on it, no profit. It ended up too late. The problem is Mythic Games was late on everything because everything they made was super big and super huge, and it was too Kickstarter too early, and so there was all these delays, and then they had to fix it all when they did rush it, and even when it was rushed, it was still late, and it was just a mess. It's a disaster, and now we're all paying for it. So Darkest Dungeon needed more money to ship from all of those backers because Anasteer failed. Darkest Dungeon people needed to pay to try and get money in because Anasteer failed. Let that sink in. It was a mess. It was a disaster, and I went ahead and covered it for you guys in several videos, actually. And I kind of talked about both sides of the situation in this one. I really tried to, and this was kind of the beginning of me really trying to do better when it comes to not just like sitting in front of a camera and like yelling at companies. Yeah, that was kind of the goal anyway. Still kind of learning the ropes, still doing a lot of soul searching on that. And that's because the next one was one step away. So this is 3 months ago. Was companies send weapons in the mail, drama ensues, let's discuss. Pay me or shut up. That's a quote from Alex from Board Game Co. Or at least pretty much a quote from him where he was like, hey, either join my Patreon or just, I think it was go jump in a lake. It was not his brightest moment. I've had many dark moments myself. When you're on film and camera a lot, and especially when you don't script yourself, you can catch yourself in a bad mood at a bad time. So like for him anyway, he was like already dealing with people upset that he became an executive at Gamefound and still like decides to like review board games and all that, and all that stuff. And then he gets a sword as well, and so then people are yelling about the sword, and so he was just like, you know what, shut up, I don't care. which is an understandable defensive move when you're making those decisions and going down that path. So I think that makes sense. But anyway, Chip Theory Games, beloved Chip Theory Games, does right by a lot of people. Again, nobody's perfect and no company's perfect either. Made perhaps a bit of a mistake here. So they're trying to kind of generate buzz for Victorum. And to do that, they sent the game out. Okay, cool. That's pretty normal. But they want to kind of sweeten the deal a little bit, make you like them a little bit more. And trust me when I say they didn't do this because they wanted to throw money away. They did it to build a relationship, right? It's why you get free stuff. It's why companies do that. It's marketing 101. In the comments, I know at least one patron probably is going to back me up on this, where this is definitely a marketing tactic. It's what it is. It's a business expense to do it. And they do it because it works. Video game companies do it. Hollywood movie companies do it. A ton of companies do it. Makeup companies do it. Galore. You get gifts. You get all these things. We've seen events now. There's all this kind of stuff going on. So they kind of even like put their foot in their mouth a little bit. So they say, so yeah, which is already kind of like flamboyant, kind of almost dismissive kind of verbiage. We sent out personalized swords and alloy dice to a number of content creators who we knew would be covering Victorum. Well, yeah, because you sent them the game. Board game content creators do a lot for this hobby. I agree. And typically it's a fairly time-consuming, thankless, and low to non-paying endeavor. Now they did that in response to Dice Tower previews, the paid-for advertising portion of Dice Tower, who I'm assuming Dice Tower doesn't want to be claimed as saying that their employees have a thankless and low to non-paying endeavor. I would imagine Dice Tower wants to say that, oh no, we pay our employees. Mark Street is paid well. He's paid well by companies like Chip Theory Games who pay him to show off things like Victorian. But yeah, no, send him a sword too, right? Or Board Game Co., right? Alex had just recently talked about how he just went full time doing that because he was making around $70,000 a year. That's what he said. I'm not, spreading any secrets there. He said that it's about $70K is what he was doing at the time. So he kind of quit his software programming job and went full-time YouTube there. So he was getting paid to do his content as well, and kind of just covered that. There are a lot of indie developer. If you want to help a content creator, send that Victorian box. You don't even need to do the sword. Send that Victorian box to a person like Game Brigade, a person like Liege, right? As somebody who's like this, like more indie, lower thing, help them out, get them the views they want, and that, because one of the things I talk about is gift giving as a means to an end. What I mean by that is giving a game for review is still getting a game, but at least it has the excuse of it's for something like a review. The only thing that sword is for is to make you like the company a bit more. That's the only purpose it serves. So anyway, it was a mess. It was nasty. A lot of people were upset about the gift giving there. And I cover kind of all of that, right? Not everyone can be bought. Gifts, a measure to a means to an end. That's kind of what I was just talking about. Separating sponsors from reviewers. Then the drama, of course, and doing it for money and blah, 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 blah. So that was, that was that one. That was a big one for sure. And then following that, 3 months ago, KOA is full of crap. Everybody's favorite video. If you like me, you still probably enjoyed it. If you dislike me, you loved that title, I'm sure. This was a very heartfelt video, and this was a very a video I don't do very often. It was a very personal video, but still about the channel. And I debated even making it. If you're on my Discord from Patreon or from YouTube membership, then you already knew this video was coming from a lot of the discussions I was having. So we had that shipping thing, right? Where I talked about, then this is why I have this video covering it, because I wanted to do the end, not just the journey through there. So there was all this shipping stuff, and I mentioned from some game devs had been talking to me about shipping costs, around VAT, around all this other kind of stuff. They were talking about some other companies, sometimes they were just talking about their company. And I talked to quite a few of them at various lengths and extents, but kind of haphazardly. It wasn't even focused or anything like that. And I made videos covering it. And I stand by most of what I said, but how I said it, how I delivered it, and the research I put into it wasn't enough. And that's what kind of led to this video, this KO is full crap, where I talk about how just me thinking about myself as a journalist makes me want to throw up a little bit. I don't have a great view of news in general. I think a lot of us may feel that way for a lot of news networks and sources and journalists and stuff like that. I feel a lot of it's manipulative. I feel a lot of it is disingenuous, compassionless, all this other kind of stuff. So you may have seen my journey through that, where I started focusing a bit more on people, right? Showing a bit more compassion when talking about these tough things. And a lot of that was just me internalizing and trying to really come to terms with what is my position here? What am I doing here? I started this channel out as just a guy that was passionate about board games, and I obsess too much. So I can't just be in board games. I have to go talk into a camera about it. I dive in deep. I can't just do anything small. So if I'm into board games, have, as you can see, like freaking a bajillion dollars worth of board games and tabletop games and, all this stuff. And suddenly I'm like, I've only been in this thing for a few years and this is where I'm at, guys. I mean, I don't know how to just do something a little bit. That's why I can't have mobile games anymore. I get addicted. I do too much. So it was me really kind of trying to take a step back, internalize it, and it took a while. It honestly did, to really get used to the idea and stuff like that. But since then, I have started doing that. I've started reaching out for comment from companies. I've started doing more follow-up. I've started delaying updates a little bit. And one of the things I talk about here is like, okay, at one point I need to let people know about things, but then I also need to do my research. And it's hard to, you could spend forever doing research, but then you're too late to tell anybody about anything. So, this was just me kind of trying to figure things out. And then after this, I got this major migraine. It was a whole shebang. I mentioned it in my Patreon video. I'm not going to go through the whole story with you guys, but I was out of commission for a week and a half. And so this was the last video I posted for a while, was KO is full crap. And people started to get worried. I'm fine, guys. I'm fine. I needed to figure out some things, and hopefully I have improved since. That was only 3 months ago. Seems like a lot longer than 3 months ago. All right. Then we have this one. Gamefound cancels censors and the lies we were told 2 months ago. Cancellation, censors, and lies. The cancellation, censors, and lies was several different things in this video. The one I want to focus on here, though, is because I'll talk about Kingdom Come Deliverance and spending money and all this, how much you say you need versus how much you need because it funded, but then they canceled and a lot of stuff. The Gamefound thing in particular, though, I want to cover just because I don't know a lot of other people that are covering this. And I want more. I want competition, as it were. I don't view it as competition at all. I view it as a good thing. You guys need more voices, more people talking about this, and ideally with different viewpoints than me. I think that'd be great. I would love and welcome more channels to cover this kind of stuff. So this was, I titled this Gamefound Political Censorship. So this was Portland Occupy Zone or something like that. The name of the game. It was a very satirical political commentary game that had a preview page on Gamefound for forever, and eventually they got cold feet and canceled it. In fact, it was set to go live, and then the guy logs in and it shows like 96 hours. So then they like hijacked his campaign that was going to go live, which means, and regardless of what your stance is in this, please know that launching a campaign of any significance is not a free endeavor. You pay for advertising to go on. You may have sent out copies, done a lot of time and money working on prototypes, sending out things, setting up reviews, setting schedules and timing for all that stuff, setting up playthroughs, all the stretch goals, links, updates, all that kind of stuff. Art assets cost money. So to lead up to a campaign, especially to the day of, you are ready to do that. You've already submitted the ads for Facebook. You've already submitted the banner ads. You've already done the Google AdSense stuff. You've already sent it to reviewers. You've already put money into this. But Gamefound was like, nope, actually, we're going to prevent you from doing that. So first it did 96, and then eventually it was the 404. And so right before release, oh, come on, show it. Yeah, nope, it was right there. The 404. I'm going to show that for like a second. My goodness. And then suddenly it was canceled and they were told, actually, no, you can't launch on here. Very, very unfortunate timing. And really, I understand Gamefound as a private company that can decide to cover whatever it wants. Yes, very true. But that doesn't mean this was handled very well, because it was on there for forever with no issue all the way up to launch, and then they hijacked it and said no. And so now any other company, if you're looking at Gamefound, if they for whatever reason don't like something about your campaign, they can go in there, they can stop it from happening, and then they can just cut you out the day of launch, just hours before you go live. That's not a good precedent to have. Especially because there's not really a lot of back and forth communication. It's more just, hey, we discussed this internally, didn't talk to you at all, and we've decided without speaking to you at all, like, we don't want this. It was just a bad way to do it, in my opinion. And that's kind of what I talk about here. It's not so much that, because they actually offered me to review it, and I didn't even respond. I was busy anyway, but I would have said no. Like, it's not under my purview, and I don't even want to get into that. I have no comment on that whatsoever, except to say that I think Gamefound didn't handle the cancellation very well. It should have either been vetted before and just never approved. But if you're going to approve it, put it on the preview page and let it go, then I feel you kind of need to stand with it a little bit, or at least reimburse them or something, because it's gross to say, no, we disagree, we'll leave you high and dry. Sorry if you wasted time on our website. So that was kind of that one. And then lastly, CMON's NFT scams. CMON's scam to get more of your money is dead and good riddance. And then CMON, Monsoon, which is CMON, they're owned by the same company, obviously, dead. All right, so this was a whole thing where CMON started getting into NFTs, where they're going to sell NFTs. By the way, some of my patrons, as a quick update, have actually sold things on there. Now, did they actually sell them to another person, or did they sell them to a Monsoon employee? Nobody knows. Everybody's just hash codes and hexadecimal values, and it's purposely like, untraceable kind of stuff, right? When it comes to who are you, who's buying, who's selling. So yeah, it was kind of a mess, but supposedly they made a lot of money, though. The proof isn't obviously there, because the company is MIA. This was a company, by the way, I reached out to Monsoon. They never did respond. Not surprised there. I'm not sure there's more than, a couple employees there. Pretty much the CEO of CMON and his friends from Razer trying to make a quick buck off of some NFTs by the looks of it over in Singapore. But, whatever. I covered this. Again, I don't know anybody else that really covered a lot of this. Hopefully more people kind of focus on the other ways that these companies are choosing to make money. I talked about manipulating. I talked about withholding information, stuff like that. Another way CMON has decided as a business that they want to make money is by selling NFTs. And you can feel about that however you wish, I suppose. All I know is that it was a lot of garbage deals, because unlike most NFTs, this was like the worst. This was essentially mobile gaming. And what I mean by that is they had these like fusions. So not only do they have the rares and the packs,
right? And the limited quantity that kept increasing, and so they had more and more of these, which was already kind of sketchy anyway, because it's like, oh, well, you only said there were 400 packs, and then you added more packs, so like, how many are there? Is there an infinite amount? How rare is this? They're not even like good at the NFT thing. But one of the things they did was this fusion thing where you take your 4 money card and your other 4 money card and you fuse them to try and get another one, which is, so they pretty much have loot boxes and like resource burning upgrade systems to be able to do that, plus achievements to collect them all and all this stuff. They very much leaned into monetizing this every way they possibly could in an impressive degree. Like, it was, again, like a mobile game. It was like Diablo Immortal CMON edition, essentially. Just gross stuff. Guys, that's a lot of crap. There's a lot of great things too. I made well over 100 videos, well over. I haven't counted yet. Last year I made over 140. I guarantee I made more this year. I was pumping out content. These are just a few things out of a wealth of awesome news, awesome board games, and greatness. So don't get dismayed about 2023 thinking it's going to be terrible and all bad, but know that not all great things are in the industry. There are bad things in the industry. There are companies that are acting bad. There are bad actors within those companies. There are companies being disingenuous or trying to sneak in money one way or the other and all this kind of stuff. And I will be there in 2023 to cover it for you guys. I hope you stick around for some much more fun top 10 things, plus a look at all the awesome, cool games coming in 2023. That'll be coming up here soon. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for a wonderful 2022. And yeah, talk to you guys again very soon. Bye, guys.